Rebecca Jane Howell and Marty McKenna are friends from Central Victoria who have been singing together for over a decade. Rebecca honed her instinct for harmony through years spent in the Australian Girls Choir, and Marty grew up singing to the sheep on his family farm, where he still tends the flock to this day. They released their self-titled debut album towards the end of last year, and it is a phenomenally good piece of work, and I'm so pleased to have the chance to talk to them about it. Hello, Rebecca, and hello, Marty.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sophie.
I'm very well, thank you. And I still listen to your album so often. It's just got all these beautiful jewel-like qualities in each of the songs, and it kind of changes over time which song I love the most at any point. So, I think that's the nature of a great album, when you can't really pick your favorite and it changes. But I'll start by asking you how you know each other.
Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So we met, I'm going to say probably would have been late 2000s that we maybe first met, because I moved to Kyneton, which is a town in it's about an hour and a bit north of Melbourne.
So between Bendigo and Melbourne.
Yeah, between Bendigo and Melbourne. So I moved up from Melbourne around that time and first met Marty's sister, and then kind of started to become friends with her, and then through her eventually met Marty. But at some point we sort of started an informal singing group at a friend's house, and through that, and we'd sort of all just come together to learn random songs and simple harmonies and things. And then through that, I think we kind of realized we both actually really sing. And at some point we tried singing together. I think someone was, trying to go, oh, you guys should, play a song together. And then
and we had a friend who was involved in that group who organised the local music festival, who kind of coaxed us into doing a set as a duo. So we did that. Yeah.
Did you have much? Sorry, go on.
It was always great fun singing together. From the first time, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So when you played that set, did you have songs prepared because you'd been singing a bit together, or did you think, oh dear, we need to have a set list now?
It was mostly covers and things. I think we had maybe, I'm not sure, we might have had a couple of our own songs, but it was mostly
covers,
just some country standards and anything that was good to harmonise with.
Yeah, we're all about the harmonies, and we still are.
Yeah. And they work beautifully. I'm just wondering, that original singing group you were in, obviously it was like a process of attrition to get to the two of you singing together. How do the other members feel about this now?
No, well, that kind of just fizzled out. But I think in the meantime, we were sort of preparing. It sort of became a separate thing, I suppose. And
and I'm from this area, so I often get asked to play, and I'd do it solo. I used to do a lot with my dad. I'd sing a lot with my dad. But I think after we did that, I'd ask Beck often to come along, and we sort of started doing a bit of stuff sort of really sporadically together. And
and we did play a bunch of shows for the Kyneton Music Festival over a couple of years. And but we sort of didn't really formalize it. It was never like a proper duo. It was more just like, oh, Marty's doing a show. And he called me up. Do you want to come and do this with me? Or wasn't until more recently that it became a proper thing. Yeah.
So was it therefore a daunting realization that actually there was something really worth pursuing to record songs, I guess, more than, or was it just like one of you or someone outside of you said, oh, come on, start making
both. I mean, probably more of the latter. So Marty is a farmer with 3 kids and a very busy life. And so, we had been playing a bit more together a couple of years ago, and it was really fun, and we were going, this is really nice. Like how great to have a friend that you can sing with. And, and then I was sort of going, maybe we should, make a bit more of it and be an actual duo. And Marty was like, oh, maybe. Pretty busy, don't know how I'd fit it in. And so that's about where it was. And then literally a few weeks later, you can tell from here.
Yeah, so I did a neighbour's wedding just at a farm sort of down the road from here, and Beck did it with me, and it was great. And then that day, I think, or that night, or maybe it was the next day, it was very close to that, I had a call from another neighbour who has a vineyard up the road, who runs a little music festival called the Burke and Wills Folk Festival, run by a guy called Andrew Patterson, who had a really important venue in Melbourne back in the day, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, called the Troubadour. And he brought out a lot of artists from America, and he's just very well connected. And he and a bunch of people have an organization called the Troubadour Foundation, which is philanthropically funded, and it helps out folk musicians, but it also has a wing that promotes folk music. And so he rang me up. One of his acts had COVID, and I said, "Oh, yep, no worries. I'll bring Beck. We're pretty tight because we'd done this wedding." And we went there, we did a performance, and they just really loved it. And they gave us an award that day
to make an album.
With Rod
Right.
McCormack.
Rod McCormack.
Right.
Rod's kind of a friend of the foundation. So yeah.
So it was a bit,
yeah,
happening, Marty.
one would almost call that an act of God. But yeah.
My hand was forced.
Your hand was forced.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Obviously, to arrive at the point where it was fun for you to sing with each other, because that suggests there was this lovely state of flow that existed when you started singing together, or at least when you had a bit of experience singing together. You obviously have to have separately arrived at that moment with a set of skills and awareness. So Marty, you may still sing to the sheep, but at which point did you start singing to people other than the sheep? Or call them people, but creatures.
Well, from a pretty young age, I can remember being, 5 and my parents making me sing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" to my grandma. And I'm looking back, I always took it pretty seriously at the time, but looking back, it was probably just a very cute thing that they thought was adorable. But I always loved singing. Dad sung always. Like, he writes songs, and I remember, we'd be carting wool in the old Bedford truck, and we'd take it in turns singing songs, and all the way to Geelong, where we had to deliver the wool to. And, it was just very much a part of my upbringing.
And those two singing together is a really beautiful thing.
Ah,
yeah, it really is. It's really special.
Well, you managed to record that as well. But Rebecca, when did your life in music begin?
Yeah, well, very different context, because I grew up in the burbs of Melbourne. Definitely no sheep around. But I just always sang just from a very young age, and I didn't have anyone I was necessarily singing with. But I just remember, like, my mum just couldn't get me to shut up, like we'd be driving, away on holidays or whatever, and I'd just be in the back seat singing the words to everything that came on the radio, and she'd be like, "How do you even know these words?" I remember I sang all the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. I just specifically remember that, and she was like, "What?" I was like 8 or something.
Yeah, right.
And
that's even more amazing in a way, because I had people around me doing it.
Yeah,
you just did it.
I didn't. No. Yeah.
Right.
But I just always loved singing. And then at some point, I guess I was around 10 or so, and I'd done a bit of singing at school and things, not a particularly musical school, but at some point, I think my mum came across the Australian Girls Choir. Maybe they were advertising for taking enrollments or whatever, and she said, "Oh, is this something you'd like to do?" And it was a big deal for us because we did not have a lot of money. My mum was a single mum, and low income, and it was a big deal because it was not a cheap thing. But she really wanted to support me, and I'm really grateful for that, because talking about bringing skills, I think we've both got a great sense of harmony, and that really helps, and also being able to sing with someone else and I don't know, sort of make your voices blend and have a dynamic, so I think the Australian Girls Choir definitely helped with that. So that's kind of my thing.
Well, to be able to sing together and still be distinctly yourself, because I've seen you perform live, and there's not a sense that one of you is kind of cruising off the other at any point in those songs. It's actually that you are yourselves as entities, and then I never like saying it's greater than the sum of its parts, because that implies the parts are not that great, which is not the case. But it's more that sense that there's a third thing that happens, which you're creating together.
There is a third thing that happens. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's the best.
There's often moments when we will have sung something and we go, oh, it did the thing.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
the extra sound that,
Yeah.
that you can't quite put your finger on. But
Yeah, which is part of the magic of harmonies. And I'm going to imagine when you perform live, some of it just happens in the moment and it's not documented. It's just there for the people who have shown up.
yeah, definitely. And just when we're singing together, when we're practicing, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, that was good. You know, that was a good moment. Yeah.
So had you individually been writing songs before you came to write together?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we've both been for a long time.
Yeah, and we performed separately, and you were in some bands, I was in a few bands, and and then I did a lot by myself and with my dad, and
and I was just sort of starting to do some stuff by myself again around the time when we started playing together more. And I really didn't enjoy solo performing that much, so it was nice for this to kind of take a bigger role, because I found it really lonely actually performing on my own. And
it's different, isn't it?
It is different. It's something I can do, but I definitely enjoy the duo mode.
It's not your natural state, obviously.
No, it's not. I think I like the collaborative side of things more than being up there on my own. Yeah.
So when did you actually start writing together? Was it a conscious effort to sit down and create songs, or did it just evolve out of practicing together?
It's probably more an evolution, I'd say, and it still is kind of evolving.
Yeah.
Right.
So for that album, we've sort of we sort of came at it with our own songs, and some of them we'd sort of helped each other with a bit.
Yeah.
But I think going forward, like it will probably begin to sort of mesh more.
It already has.
Yeah,
like
it has,
we're already started writing more songs that are you know, collaboratively written, and some of the songs on the album, we already had, but we'd worked on together.
Yeah.
That we'd sort of, they felt like us.
Yeah.
And then there were some that we wrote for the album. And then now it's sort of gone the next step along that path,
helping
where it's
each other with it, with the songwriting.
It's become more sort of entwined, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I suppose very suddenly, once you won that award, suddenly there was a producer and something of a deadline, as in you're going to have to do something with this, so you need to create some songs for it.
Yep.
Yeah,
which is good.
Definitely.
It was good. You know, I think I think just in terms of sparing along something that we might have got to.
Maybe not.
It might not have happened, you know, because I wouldn't have wanted to push Marty.
It's interesting to think about that, because I am really proud of that album, and I think I think it's a good album too. And I'm with you, Sophie. Like, my favorite song changes constantly, and I enjoy listening to it now and again. Like, so it's interesting to think that, you know, it may not have happened, but for that.
I forgot.
That changes me a bit, you know. That changes.
Well, there's also as that point of you were ready when the moment arrived. I mean, that's no doubt why they handed you the award, because they could see something, but also you had to be ready to step into that opportunity. You could have actually won that award and thought, maybe we'll just sit on it for a while or whatever it is, because, you know, the life of a farmer is 7 days a week. It's for anyone who's not been around farming, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a stressful situation. You're vulnerable to the weather, and you probably wouldn't have thought you could carve out the time to make that album unless that had happened.
Yeah.
But we're making it work in terms of like, you know, there's periods where we, you know, it goes on the back burner when Marty's super busy here, and
it's very seasonal. And
and there's other times when, you know, he's like, oh, actually things are pretty quiet. We can write some stuff, or we can play some more gigs, or and
it's good to have done that too, that album, because even driving up to the Central Coast, we were like, we did not know what was going to happen. We didn't know how we were going to be treated. I'd met Rod, but Beck never met him, but I'd never worked with him.
We met him on Zoom,
and you don't know how someone's going to treat your music. Like, I hate it, you know. They might not treat it right, but
especially in that situation where he's been asked to work with us.
Yeah,
it's not someone he's chosen to work with. It's like we've kind of been foisted on him.
But
and vice versa, you know.
It was just such a dream. Like, he is
absolutely,
he's the man. Like, he really,
I was gonna say, I'm sure he did not mind at all. It's just once he was singing to you. But
I mean,
sorry,
it's
go
true. I
on.
think he quite enjoyed it. You
Mm.
know, I think we all enjoyed working together.
Yeah, and well, I think that shows as well, and because there is a sense of ease in the album. That's not to say you had it easy making it, but it's more just none of it sounds like a forced moment. It's like there was anything in the studio that you weren't fully there for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's good that you picked that
Yeah,
up.
we were very comfortable from pretty early on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely a few challenging moments of like, you know, you're trying to get something right at times and that you put a bit of pressure on yourself for that. But mostly I think like Rod was so great at creating that sense of ease and helping us just feel really comfortable. We never felt like imposters or anything, you know, like which we easily could have, because walking into his studio.
Yeah, and John Williamson was there the first day we were there recording with his daughters, and
Adam Harvey's in the other room, you know, like just I don't know, platinum records on the walls and like what are we doing?
But we didn't, you know, it just it was great.
He made us feel super comfortable.
And everyone has to make a first album, you know. Even Adam Harvey and John Williamson had their first albums. Speaking of first, what was the first song written for your album?
Whoa. Well, because
that's a good question.
Some of them were old, like maybe Wind Blew West was.
Maybe when did you write 1982?
Yeah, those two probably
are the oldest.
two oldest, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I wrote the Wind Blew West in maybe about 2016.
Yeah, I reckon maybe 1992 was similar, maybe a bit after. Yeah.
Yeah, so all the songs, like it really is quite a time period that they were written over. So it'll be interesting because the next album, if we do another album, which we think we will, we hope we will, the songs will be from a much shorter period of time, right?
That's right.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't write at a breakneck speed, so it takes me,
I don't know that many people do. Like, you know, even if they get a song out at a breakneck speed, I think it's then that's one song that most songwriters I've spoken to, there'll be the occasional song that comes out really quickly, but most of the time it takes a while.
Yeah, no, I don't write many songs, I think. I mean, so
but when he does,
probably got a few more.
Well, that's just it. It's like, how many do you need to write in order to?
He doesn't need to write many. So, you know, I'll write like a lot of throwaway ones and then I'll be like, oh, here's one that's, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Everyone's process is different, which is part of why it's so fascinating. It's like some songwriters need to do that, like the equivalent of the morning pages from The Artist's Way, where you're just kind of writing stuff out to clear the way for the things. Some people will just very deliberately write for an album. So, but if you're working that way, you're probably working on those songs while you're doing other things, you know, like it's your brain's ticking them over. Yeah. And then you mentioned The Wind Blew West in 1982, and they were your first two singles. The Wind Blew West was the first single, and they're both kind of origin stories, I guess, in that The Wind Blew West was your mother's story. And so you said it was written around 2016, but I'm wondering if it felt like a story that had been waiting to be told, or for you to tell it for
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something for anyone that doesn't know it, I suppose it's about my dad leaving before I was born. And coming back and then leaving again. And so it's definitely something I've, you know, grappled with getting my head around for a long time. So it was a cathartic thing to write for sure. And kind of a hard thing to write, but definitely felt like it needed to be written. But other things in my memory, it came really quickly and like fully formed. But when I found the original lyrics for it, and I've got actually like several iterations of it, which is funny because I've kind of wiped that from my memory. But yeah, definitely therapeutic one. It's one of the good things about being a songwriter.
True, but and also from what you were saying on stage when I saw you perform, The Briny Blue, which was the third single, is actually like the answering song to The Wind Blew West, the father's side of the story.
Well remembered, that's true. Yeah, so I think, and it reflects, you know, I wrote it
more recently.
Yeah, more recently, so 8 years on or whatever. Am I calculating right? Yeah, 6 years on. Anyway, somewhere around that. And I guess having thought more or developed a maybe better understanding of where his head was at during that time. And yeah, it's really looking from his perspective.
Well, quite a compassionate one too, I think, just from
Thank you. Well, I guess I have developed more compassion over the years for his experience of it all, and to a point. But yeah, just understanding the impact of mental health issues. Yeah, exactly. A more mature view of it. The Wind Blew West was just like something I had to get out that was, but whereas this was, I actually thought of that song. I remember exactly how this song came about. I was listening to You're Always on My Mind, or Always on My Mind. I'm not sure what it's called. Because the Willie Nelson version, because he used to sing that to my mum.
Right.
And that song's always had quite a weight. And I just started thinking about, this idea of a song being like an apology.
Right.
And and then I don't know, I just got this, let me sing it in a song and I'll tell you how I feel when I can't find the courage to tell you. And that's where it came from. Yeah. And it just wrote itself.
But I'm wondering whether actually being an artist was part of becoming compassionate towards your father, being able to tell that other side of his story. Because in writing songs, in telling songs to an audience, you're necessarily thinking about other people's stories.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it is a newer thing for me, I suppose. Putting myself in the shoes of another character for a song, and it's that in itself, like the experience of writing that song was quite therapeutic as well in that way, because it sort of helps you have more compassion by leaning into that and pushing further into what that experience might have been like. And
well, it's empathy, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of in an extreme way. Yeah.
And Marty, 1982 is such a stunner of a song when the lines are, there's so much in each line. So, in fact, you were born in a famine year amongst famine years and you never learned to swim. And then next time we hear that, it's you're skinny still. It's like there is just so much bound up in all of that. Just every time I hear that line and I never learned to swim, it's like, just the evoking the circumstances of early life can have such a continuing impact, and doing it in such a refined way, I guess, you didn't need to explain any more beyond that. So I'm wondering, just in terms of your songwriting process, whether you actually did sort of edit that down until you found the most crystalline way of saying it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm drawn to lyrics a lot, like, for ever since I was, a teenager, listening to Dylan and, Leonard Cohen and some of the better lyricists. I'm not saying I'm there at all, but I do love lyrics, and I like sort of paring it down. And, like sometimes I like finding the ones that you don't actually know why it has power, or you don't know, it takes a turn that it's sort of almost below that conscious level. It's hard to explain, but so if I can even get close to doing something like that, I'm always happy. I remember getting the opening line pretty early, and that's what most of the songs I write, I get the melody and a line or two pretty early, and if it's powerful enough, it'll drag me through to write the song. So yeah, I don't remember paring it down too much. It probably has changed a little bit, but I think
they come out like that with you.
They do tend to.
It's amazing.
But
From what I've observed, like, I think you've nailed it there, Sophie, with how you described that, because I think that's the thing about Marty's writing. It's just there's this real clarity to it. Gets straight to this kind of the heart of something in a non-flourishy kind of way, but in a way that just impacts you. Yeah, I think it's such a skill. Yeah.
Oh, it's a tremendous skill. But I mean, so when you say that, that opening line, the melody will pull you through, does that mean if you don't feel that pull when you start that song, you're just like, nah, it's not going to happen?
Yeah, because I often get, like I'm constantly, and this is the thing about songwriters, they're just people who think about writing songs, right? Like they've got it on their mind, Well, I'm constantly, that sounds ridiculous, but
no, I think it's a great way to put it, because it can it can be loaded up with all sorts of other things. You're like more romantic ideas about the process, and actually the way you've put it, there are people who think about songs. It's a craft, it's an art,
Yeah.
it's a manufacturing position in some ways. It's like I'm generating a song here.
And you're just at the ready, like you just, so I am like constantly singing into my phone. Like I've got, heaps of ideas. Although I went swimming with my phone the other day, so I've lost a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
But
who knows what?
Are they not backed up to the cloud?
no, I didn't back them onto the cloud. I'm pretty bad with technology. But anyway, a
You
lot
probably
of them
wouldn't have gone back to them, let's be honest.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. You tend not.
But it does. So I'm always coming up with ideas. But
Mm.
yeah, it is the ones that have, for me anyway, it just needs to be. It needs to have some sort of strength to help me to compel me to write it.
Mm-hmm.
And they can change. Like they can start off as something and they can
Mm.
end up as something else, and that's that's what happens sometimes. But yeah,
I would imagine that's part of what keeps you interested in the process.
yeah,
Seeing what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But it has been interesting, like when we've worked on songs together, there have been some that it's been like, oh, maybe, maybe it'll be something.
Yeah.
And then it has turned out to be something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, and then other times, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
It's
And I guess you just get better at figuring that out.
Yeah,
Don't you?
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. There's like some that I think we've pushed through, and
Yeah.
then it's turned out to be a real gem.
Yeah. And then you can
know?
take it to the studio and it could be something else, like
right.
producer can do, like, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, and I suppose, he could have a perspective on it as well. That you might take a song, I think it's middling, and he'll go, no, that's great. You're not hearing the totality.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Other side of it. So now, the way the sun goes down was for me the first time I heard that album. I was like, well, this is a central point of the album in terms of, I thought, themes and evocative of a world, and it's a song of love for the world, but it's also really plaintive. And so I'm not actually going to ask you about how it was written, but more about the recording of it, because I'm wondering with your vocal, Rebecca, if it was actually pretty much just one take and you didn't re-record it, because there's such an immediacy in the vocal that it sounds like you were just right there.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
It's a weird whirlwind. But...
Yeah, it's such a whirlwind. We really went into the studio and it was just like 6 days of recording, and then we came out the other side and we were like, what just happened?
Yeah, right.
But I dare say there would have been, I think, like, generally the approach we were using was to get a couple of good takes, and then if there were bits that were a bit off, we would drop them in. It is a little bit of a challenging vocal, that one, so if I did manage to get it in one take, I'd be surprised. Interestingly, it's less challenging now. I think I've got better at singing. But it was at that time, I was finding there's like some intervals and things in there that at the time I was finding challenging, or just needing to be in the right place to nail it. But yeah, I really enjoy singing that song. I think we both do.
Yeah, it's great. And I love playing it too. I like the way the guitars work. And
yeah.
Rod's really good at picking up even just subtly if you're vocally dropped or not. So he was, I don't know, he's a bit of a wizard, but he's like, yeah. And he even taught us, really.
Yeah.
He taught us a lot.
Definitely.
About, and I don't know, just so many things. But yeah.
I do remember that one being like, there were a few challenging moments with it. I think it was day 3 when we recorded that one, and we were having a day off the next day, and I think we were getting just a bit tired. And I think it was like, there were just a few moments of like, I just want to get it right, like.
Yeah, right.
I reckon that day. And then you got a flat tire that night, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
that was a fun one.
So you did need a day off.
We needed a day off. But the next day we went to Sydney and we just walked around the city for like hours and hours and hours, and just got our heads out of the studio. Yeah. But yeah.
So as you were assembling songs for the album, were there certain themes that emerged, or did you actually purposefully assemble those songs so that they arranged themselves along particular lines?
Well, there was no like purpose in terms of a concept or anything.
No.
It was just, we just wanted really good songs, and we had this collection, and yeah, I don't remember, like,
no, I think
it's sort of like, in terms of a loose lead of the song. It sort of goes, it swaps between, it alternates song for song.
Yeah.
Which is something we sort of, after we'd recorded them, we were just playing around with the order, and it just kind of
just felt right.
Right.
Yeah.
Doing that.
And there was a sort of a thread running through, I don't know.
Well, it does start with birth and ends with death.
Starts with birth and ends with death. Starts with both of our births.
Yeah.
Your 1982 and then the Wind Blew West. But the other thing with that, I think, is that our songs naturally have some common threads in that we both do draw a lot on landscape and place and you know, obviously life experiences and things, but I think that is probably the thing that one of the things that makes it work. And that wasn't an intentional.
Definitely feels very Australian.
Yeah.
Now you have one cover on the album, which is When Will You Fall For Me, which is written by Mark Seymour, performed by Vicar and Linda Bull. And then you have this song, This Time, which is track 10. And when I heard that the first time, I was like, it almost feels like it's a companion song to When Will You Fall For Me, but in ways I can't quite define. It just felt, I don't know, it felt like
I've never thought about that
song. But well, there you go. It wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional, no. But there's definitely, there's definitely some parallels there for sure.
Yeah, it's I think it's just it's not even like lyrically I could say, oh, there's an answering thing going on. It was more just this sense of a push and pull between two people and wanting something and the other not ready, and
very true. I've never thought about it. Very good. Yeah,
I try to pay attention.
I like that.
So I also thought when you had the Wind Blew West and the Briny Blue as companion songs, it was just a nice piece of symmetry with another pair.
Yeah. Oh well, let's go with that. Yes.
Subconscious maybe.
100% intentional.
Now you have been playing a few festivals I've seen on your social media. You're getting out and about, obviously, as much as time permits. I guess this is something you have to consider carefully though, because you have other demands on your time. Is how far afield you can go and whether touring is possible at any stage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we wanted to do the foundation proud, and because we've got this really, we've got a nice product in the album. We really wanted to fall on the ears that, I feel like, there's an audience there for it, and we just wanted to find its audience. And so you got to get out there, don't you? But I really enjoy it. Performing to people is a lot of fun. So we want to do more of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We within reason. We just balancing those elements. As to make it as viable as we can. Because you don't want to turn it into something that's difficult. And putting strain on your family or so we're always just really mindful of that, but within that I think we're definitely open to doing some more small scale touring. I think that's the thing. It's like little bursts, right?
I think so. I mean, the winter for me is a good time. Like it's kind of my maintenance time, a lot of fencing, and there's nothing too pressing, so and my dad's still on the farm too, so it's not like it'll be completely unattended. But
except he might come on the road with you. He could be the support act with you. With your own support act.
I've been trying to convince him to get up and sing a song with us, but he's been reticent.
I will do more with my dad. I should do an album of his songs because he's got some great songs.
Or he can perhaps some of his songs could be on your next album. Just throwing ideas around. But I'm wondering, in working with each other, whether you feel you've changed as singers, like individually, just from the work you do with each other, and also as writers, whether there are, as true collaborators now, because you are, whether that has become an important part of your development as artists individually.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I mean, especially since recording the album, for me anyway. I think Rod taught us a lot and sort of shone a light on what we do, and so kind of exposed for me what it is we do in a weird way.
Helped us
so now
clarify.
I know what we do. But it sounds strange, but I don't know if I really knew what we did before that.
Yeah, well, we hadn't really developed it yet. It was like there was an inkling of what it was. Like when we won the award, we were playing some of our originals
that's right.
together,
I
and
mean, it was there, but
but it was at that time we were doing half covers, half originals, probably, and so yeah, it's been a gradual evolution since then. Definitely sort of, given a push by the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way we sing together, I think we've always sung really well together. Like it just from the first time we sang together, it just really worked. But that obviously continues to evolve and we get even more nuance, I think, as we go along.
Yeah, that's right.
And then that starts to be reflected in the writing, how we write, we've just finished writing a song recently that I think, is really reflective of both of our songwriting approaches.
Yeah, totally.
In a way that nothing else has been yet, probably. Because I think it combines your clarity, like that more direct kind of lyricism, and then mine tends to be, I don't know how to describe, but like maybe more, I don't know, not that.
Well, no, it's great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it well, but I guess it's different. Everyone's got a different.
Yeah, but then, it's like bringing those things together into a whole.
Yeah.
And in such a way that it works with our voices as well. It's like, that's another element, writing in a way that complements the way we sing.
Yeah.
For each other, for each other's voices. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also, I guess, then a different sense of what you're doing as artists, in that you were bringing songs you've written individually to this project the first time around, but they were still songs you were working on together. But now, yes, you're creating things to serve the entity that has become Valley Road.
Yeah, correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's going to be, I'm loving doing this album still and that, but I am looking forward to one day getting in the studio and doing another one.
And how different that would be.
Like, it's going to be, I think there's some really strong stuff. So I think it'll be still really, really good. But it's going to be different.
Yeah. And the other thing with that is that we went into the studio last time not knowing what to expect, not knowing Rod, with an idea of what parts we'd have and whatnot, but not necessarily fully developed. And we were developing a lot of the guitar parts and things in the studio. Whereas now we write with all that stuff in mind.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like we're really crafting that stuff as we write the songs.
Yeah,
well, that's quite a quick evolution as well. Like it's one thing to witness that in the studio and think, oh yes, well this is happening and that's happening. It's another to actually be able to take it on and very quickly incorporate it into what you're doing. And again, I come back to this point about the artist you were when you arrived at the entity together. That you had to bring all of that with you. I mean, part of what I observed when I saw you live, which was definitely there on the album, is that this is a partnership of true equals. There is not a glimmer of ego between the two of you when you perform live or on the album. It's not like there's a push or pull of I have to take the lead here, I don't, or this is my story or that's your story. And that's, I would imagine, quite rare as well. And it seems as though that lack of ego on either of your parts was there from the start when you sang together and just realized, hey, this works really well.
Yeah, well, it's and it's nice that you notice that too, because it's actually something we talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
And even in interviews like this, we don't want to talk over each other or just have one person talking. So.
No. No, it's a team.
And on the stage too, there are times where you just, especially when we sing When We Fall, for me, we just fully let it go.
Yeah.
But most of the time you're feeling each other out and you just, you just want to present their voice. And, I'm trying to present Beck's voice and Beck's trying to present my voice while we're singing together.
Yeah. So we're adapting as we go. And we're like, we tend to watch each other a lot when we're performing because we're just trying to stay in that mode. Because I think it's really important to
it works, and it works for the audience better too, because we've all been to performances where someone might be drowning someone else out, and you're like, oh, that's a shame. I want to hear you, you know.
Yeah.
And so we're fully aware of that, and hopefully we, you know, we try and yeah, that's nice that you noticed that, because it's something we do work on a bit and talk about.
And just to be supportive of each other in that too. Like we tend to be between the two of us, if we've got little moments of lyric forgetfulness, we're like right on it, kind of, oh no, it's not that. Like we can read what each other's doing to be able to not drop the ball, which is good. Mostly.
Well, I guess you're also, you know, you're also holding on to this third thing that's between, and that's each performance or each recording is an opportunity to tend to that and shape it.
Yeah, totally.
It's delicate.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in no hurry to let this album go either, but now that you're talking about new music, I'm like, oh, well, come on.
Well, we did actually, when we
when you saw us,
when you saw us, we, was it that day or the next day, I think we went into the studio for a day with Rod and put down one song.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, this could be the start of a new album.
Well, again, that's just cruel, knowing that it's out there.
we haven't even heard it.
Well, maybe that's as it should be. It's taking on its own life, that track.
Well, I think it's just waiting for a rainy day when you know we can add some more,
because we've performed it a bit now.
We have,
maybe we've changed. I don't know. Who knows how it's changed?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
I think changed it that day, and that's now how we perform.
Yes, that's right.
Actually,
Again, the tending and shaping of the third thing is going on. But look, I've had you talking for quite a while. It is nighttime. I'm sure you have some other things to get to, so I will let you go. But Rebecca and Marty, it's been so interesting and such a privilege to talk to you both about this wonderful album. So I hope many people listen to it and come to see you play live, and then we can all look forward to whatever comes next.
Well, thanks, Sophie, and thanks for your interest. It's really nice to have your support.
Yeah, absolutely, and for listening, you know, in such a detailed way. It's a real treat.
It's my absolute pleasure.